Hello everyone, Punchnuts Gaming here, and today I want to start covering my favorite stealth franchise and one of my favorite franchises in general, Splinter Cell. I will be covering the upcoming game by Ubisoft, Splinter Cell 7, and I will explain to you guys my thoughts on everything from what we know to whether or not Michael Ironside will return as Sam Fisher. I've spent a lot of time thinking of what I wanted to say and try to be as detailed as possible with the topics I'm about to discuss. I hope you guys enjoy. A new Splinter Cell game is in the works, confirmed by the art director of Splinter Cell Blacklist, Scott Lee, and had this to say in an Arabic Gamers interview in 2013, and I quote, "Sam Fisher and Splinter Cell are a big franchise for Ubisoft, and yes, they do support the franchise. Obviously, we're working very hard on current-gen systems, and we're super excited that we're going to be across all platforms. For next-gen, there are a lot of plans in the works. Obviously, we can't talk about that at the moment, but I definitely look forward to seeing Sam in new adventures, bigger and better as we go along. Sam will be back." So we know that a new Splinter Cell game is in the works. The real question here is when will it be announced or when will it be released? Other than this, everything else will be assumptions at this point. Many fans have been expecting an announcement at E3 2015, and besides a new Ghost Recon game being announced, we got nothing. In my honest opinion, I feel like we will get an announcement at this year's E3 2016, and that the game will not release until 2017. Splinter Cell 7 may be delayed due to work needed to be done on Ghost Recon Wildlands. Even though different studios make Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon, many studios come together to create assets for one game. I think at the latest, Splinter Cell 7 will be released in early 2018. But this also raises a question. Splinter Cell Double Agent was the first Splinter Cell game to release on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Splinter Cell Conviction came out 4 years after Double Agent and completely revamped the franchise. Since we are now on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, will we need to wait another year or two until we even see an announcement for Splinter Cell 7? I think this could very well be true. What do you guys think? I think since the game will most likely only be on current gen, that the game could very well be a complete revamp of the franchise, like with Splinter Cell Conviction. But Conviction took 4 years to release after Double Agent, so if this is true, we may have to wait another 2 years until we actually see the light of day for Splinter Cell 7, unless Ubisoft works really fast on this project. But I don't want a rushed game. If the game isn't a complete revamp of the franchise, then we may as well see the announcement of Splinter Cell 7 very soon. If the game isn't a complete revamp of the franchise, then Splinter Cell 7 may be very similar to Conviction and Blacklist. The most important change to Conviction and Blacklist's gameplay to me was the choice between different playstyles. What I mean is you can either go in guns blazing as a ghost, or a panther that sneaks about but takes out enemies one by one. I think it fits this generation very well, giving old and new players the choice on how they want to accomplish the mission. If they do revamp the franchise, they have to include this gameplay mechanic into it, even though I myself would just enjoy stealth. If the franchise does get revamped, then I think the different options to go about missions will return. Choosing your loadout would return, having to hide in the shadows would return, the same or a better cover system would return, being able to climb on many different objects or structures would return, being able to interrogate enemies might return, hacking into computers and security systems might return, and much, much more. I think this is really their chance to satisfy fans of the franchise and new ones by giving old players the mechanics I previously mentioned, and giving new ones the feel of a first-person shooter, even though I honestly thought the assault style in Blacklist wasn't that great, but since I prefer stealth, it wasn't a problem for me. Hopefully they can pull off a game where any kind of player, new or not to the franchise, can enjoy the game due to their preferences, even though I would like Splinter Cell to go back to its core roots, but that won't happen. The new Ghost Recon Wildlands is going to be open world, where the games have previously been more linear. Now if a Splinter Cell game was to go open world, then I think a whole lot of opportunity can be put here. I can imagine a big open world with tons of main and side missions to accomplish, and many different locations to visit and discover, creating a non-linear game where everything is seamless with a co-op friend. Now I'm not saying Splinter Cell 7 should be open world, but it's an interesting thought. In previous Splinter Cell games, mostly each mission sends you off to another state or country, If this is the same with an open world for Splinter Cell 7, then would there be different side missions to complete created for that specific area? What kind of side missions would we have in an open world Splinter Cell game? If the game was open world and you could visit different states or countries, then I would imagine the maps to be smaller and to have less detail than with one big city. In the end, I think it would be very similar to most open world games, but would have its own twist to it. I think the engine that will be used for Splinter Cell 7 will be a new engine completely or the Snowdrop engine used for The Division, because it has been claimed by Martin Holberg, head of IP at Ubisoft Massive, that any Ubisoft studio can use the Snowdrop engine, and also claims it can be incorporated into other Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed. He also says, and I quote, "Now we've made that engine available to other studios and not just the Clancy teams." Is he saying that the Snowdrop engine has already been sent to other studios working on other Tom Clancy games? Will the next Splinter Cell be using it? We can only speculate at this time. Ghost Recon Wildlands is not using the Snowdrop engine, but it was in development for 3 years before it was announced, and could have been using the Snowdrop engine because 3 years ago was 2013 and The Division was announced that year, but it isn't using the Snowdrop engine. This could be the same for Splinter Cell, even though Ghost Recon Future Soldier came out a year before Blacklist. The studio had more time to work on their new project while Ubisoft Toronto were still focusing on Blacklist, even though they may had some ideas for Splinter Cell 7. Now for the graphics. I think the graphics will obviously look a lot better from Blacklist because now with the technology of current gen, the developers can do a lot more. I would imagine the graphics to look similar to The Division, but not so much to Ghost Recon Wildlands at this time because the game is still in beta, and the graphics may get a downgrade, and this could mean that the graphics for Splinter Cell 7 may not be as great as other games if it happens to be open world, because for example, they would need more processing power, so they would need to downgrade, let's say, the graphics. It may even be using a different engine from the two and could have different graphical capabilities, so we will just have to wait and see. Each Splinter Cell game have been sequels to each other, so I have no doubt that Splinter Cell 7 will be any different. Splinter Cell Blacklist left off with Sam sparing Sadiq and locking him up. There is also a post-credits scene that shows Victor and Sam about to interrogate Sadiq to try to take down the rest of the engineers. I think the story in Splinter Cell 7 will continue right after Blacklist, and Sadiq will spit out something about someone a lot more powerful in rank than him, who has connections to the engineers that seem small at first, but Sam realizes that the person is a lot stronger than him. If the game does happen to be open world, I would expect to visit Sadiq in his jail cell outside missions, and who is to say about Coben? They can go in any direction with the story, but I have a strong feeling Sadiq will be once again heavily involved with it. I personally think that it is quite possible for Ironside to return as Sam Fisher. The reason Ironside wasn't playing as Sam in Splinter Cell Blacklist is because he is getting older and the mocap is getting harder on him. But what Ubisoft can do is just use Ironside as Sam's voice and have someone else do the mocap for him, which I don't see why they didn't do this with Blacklist. But if Ironside doesn't return to Splinter Cell 7, then I can definitely see Eric Johnson return as Sam Fisher. He was good for the role he was put in, but didn't have quite an impact on the series as Ironside's voice had. Maybe as we have more games with him voicing Sam, people might appreciate him more. I personally would like to see Ironside return over Johnson because to me he is Sam Fisher. When I think of Sam Fisher, I think of his character and Michael Ironside, who brought the character to life in the games. They have to bring him back and get someone else to do the mocap. If this doesn't work for whatever reason, then I would be happy to see Johnson return, but I would also question why Ubisoft had trouble bringing Ironside back. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate every one of you who spends their time watching my videos. It really means a lot to me. But this is all I have to say so far for Splinter Cell 7. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe and like button for future content on Splinter Cell 7. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you.